Hi, good morning, my dear students. I'm so sorry for the mess up this morning schedule. I have a problem with my internet system. So just came up and just repaired here, the technical people of Xfinity. So what I will do today is to present to you Unit 5 journal, including your May 3 um, um, assignment and homework. Okay, and the review of quiz 5 and also the critical thinking essay 5. Now for the journal ideas, I would like you to look at the guide. So you will be using the ethical theories, um, the PowerPoint, to provide you with all these informations that you need. Okay, so the first thing that you need to focus would be um, to see the consequentialist ethics, ethical egoism, and utilitarianism. Okay, and usually all number ones are the descriptions of the theory. Okay, number two of ethical egoism is to compare Hobbes' resolution of conflict. So what I will do is highlight this one first and copy this. Okay, and this is how you would do it, and try to um, use a new file for this. So I'll be cutting and pasting the questions, the first question, and from here I would like to answer based on the guide PowerPoints we have. All right, for the PowerPoint, so you click this file and you look for ethical egoism as a topic that belongs to consequentialist ethics. Okay, so that will be my way of presenting to you the or how to answer number one. Just give us a second. It's opening. Okay. So you'll be seeing the PowerPoint. And if you go to the first ethical theory, which is teleological ethics, you will find out egoism and utilitarianism there. Now, there is a particular definition of egoism, so you need to use this page. So box number 17 to answer journal number 1. So what I will ask you is to give you a guide. So try to use box 17 to discuss this theory. All right? Now, what you may be reading in that PowerPoint is that egoism is a theory that says action, decision, rule is right when it promotes the self-interest. And it is grounded on ethical or psychological egoism of Hobbes that says man is by nature selfish. Okay, now if you go back to the guide question, it says here, what is ethical egoism as a consequentialist ethics? What is its justification? And how was this described about human beings? So you simply say ethical egoism is a consequentialist ethics that says so actions, rule, or traits are good or right when the consequences is to satisfy the self-interest. Okay, now that defines now ethical egoism, and the foundation of this theory is found in Psychological Egoism of Hobbes, saying that human is by nature selfish. So I highlight the importance of ethical egoism here. One is a consequentialist ethics. Remember consequentialism, when the action and its consequences promotes the self-interest. And then the foundation, okay? And the foundation is in psychological egoism, saying that human is by nature selfish. So what is Hobbes' solution to the conflict and Ayn Rand's solution to the conflict? Now, if by nature we are all selfish, so what will be the consequence then? So there is possibility of conflict of interest according to Hobbes. And in that way, if there is conflict of interest, so there is a problem of determining whose interest will be pursued. And so there will be a kind of brutish characteristic here. We become selfish to each other, and we become to be what? To be more self-protective of our interests. So life will become short-lived in the process, and so we need somebody to help us. Now Hobbes would say we need a government, we need to establish a society that will help us regulate that selfishness. Okay, so these two paragraphs here can help develop that that answer, that we need to surrender, this word here, surrender our rights to the centralized government, so that the government will be the one to regulate our selfishness. So if I will put that one here, so Hobbes' answer, so this is box number 18. Box 18, say Hobbes argues that there may be conflict of interest. Okay, and if this happens, we need to defend our self-interest, and so we may defend our interests, and so secure our self-interest, and so we become self-protective. We become so arrogant, and so there's a tendency that we may destroy each other and kill each other. We may be hurting each other or destroying each other. Thus, life may become what? Short-lived. Now, short-lived life means then we just die, because as we pursue our self-interest, then we end up our life. So the solution is to organize a society or government to help us regulate our selfishness. And this is very important thing for Hobbes. Regulating our selfishness is very important, and so what is advised is, let us surrender our selfishness, or surrender our rights rather, to the centralized government. Okay, we surrender our rights to the centralized government that would regulate our selfishness. And this is what is happening. Say you are in the highway, you are trying to drive, and you want to go ahead first. So what shall you do? Either you speed up or you overtake someone. Now this could result to what? Some sort of indifference or some disagreements with other drivers. And we know about road rage, for instance. So they ended up killing each other. So how to resolve that? Everybody is selfish, by the way. And so how should say, let us surrender our rights to the government. Now, as we ask for driver's license, then they say, oh, I will follow traffic rules. So who is regulating our selfishness then in the highway? Of course, you have the traffic enforcers there. You have the policemen. You have the traffic how do you call that? Traffic lights, for instance, that will help us regulate our own selfishness. Or traffic rules will help us maintain peace and order in society. Okay, let's go to the next topic. Utilitarianism. We have Ayn Rand solution. I forgot to mention that. So Ayn Rand solution is box number 19. So her argument is that we don't need a control of the government, but let us give each other total freedom, and this freedom is the one that regulates our selfishness. So I will copy that one. The easiest way is you may copy Ayn Rand solution. So this is box 19. In your guide, you have Ayn Rand solutions. So Ayn Rand argued that the libertarian society that provides maximum amount of freedom will help us regulate the selfishness of each other by pursuing our freedom. It's like I can throw anything outside as I want, okay? But remember that there may be other people that may be hurt by throwing anything outside. So because of the presence of other freedom, then I will say, oh, no, I will not do this at this time because I may hit this car, I may hit other people, etc. I can only throw anything outside if I'm very sure that no one is there. So who regulates my freedom to do anything what I want is the freedom of other people. Okay, so that will help us answer the problem in resolving the problem of conflict in society. Okay, you have utilitarianism. Try to copy and then paste that here. And this is one way of doing this kind of journal. And this journal can help us develop sense of summary ideas and to develop how we should answer questions like this. Okay, utilitarianism as consequentialist ethics is justification in the principle of utility and describe what is in the human nature that utilitarians argue as the basis for right or wrong. When I will go to the handouts, for instance, you may look at utilitarianism this way. This may be the definition here. So I would like to copy this. This is box 22. And this is very good definition already. Okay. And the definition is that I have to pursue the interest of other people. So this is box 22. And you need to define utilitarianism as a consequentialist theory or consequentialist ethics. So that's the same as teleological. Consequentialist ethics that says our actions, rules, and trait is good or right if it promotes the greatest interest of other people or others. Okay. Now, what is the principle, the foundation here? The foundation of this theory is the utility principle. Utility principle. that human has always a desire to seek, okay, have to seek pleasure, to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And this is very common. If I ask anybody, what is your purpose of your life? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Sometimes you would say a kind of a very short-term purpose, like, why do you study? Because I want to get high grades. That's very short term. But if you ask them further, why do you want high grade? Because I want to finish my schooling well. I want to get a better, say, knowledge. Why? Because I want to have a good job. Then why again? Why and why? And then at the end it says, or one says, because I want to be happy. Now, that may be a kind of long-term goal which everybody desires, and part of that goal is to avoid any pain. Now, what is this utilitarian idea then about right or wrong? So based on this principle, utility principle, utilitarians argue that it is easier for people to follow this desire and therefore can accomplish this desire based on that seeking of pleasure and avoiding pain. All right. What about number 4? Now, this number 4, by the way, I would recommend that you will watch the video on utilitarianism and then be able to discover the meaning of that utilitarianism. There is also a text here in my PowerPoint that compares this. Act utilitarianism, okay? So this is about act utilitarianism. This is box number 24. So I will just say box number 24, that will help you answer this. And then comparing act utilitarianism, okay, and also rule utilitarianism. And I will copy that. That can help you develop this kind of theory. Okay, so I will compare what's the difference between these two. Now, you notice that from the word act, so what is being emphasized here is the action itself, or the morality of a particular action. While in the concept of the rule utilitarianism, what is important would be any policy, rules, norms, regulations. Okay, this disregards about rules. So the difference is simply this. When you act something that will help the greater number of people, then it belongs to act utilitarianism. When you follow certain rules, like traffic rules, because you want to provide the interests of other people, then that belongs to rule utilitarianism. Now, the question in here is that which one provides long-term and versus short-term? So that, well, I will ask you to watch the video. Okay, so which one does provide long-term and short-term? So that's very important thing, that you need to discover which one that provides short-term and long-term. This will be on the concept there of your the video. Okay, watch the video on this. And where is that video? I will try to find out if I have pasted the video here. Let me see. If not, then I will link it to the assignment. Okay, so I cannot find a video here. So is the time for me to link it so that you have some way to refer to finish this assignment. So you can find that in YouTube. And you can type utilitarianism. Okay. You can use this crash course. This is the one. And
now let me tell you about Honey. Anytime you check out on your
all right.
computer, it will search the entire internet, and if it
That's
finds a
the
coupon
one
code, it
here.
will apply it. Here's how Honey works. We're currently on Macy's. We have a $279 mix.
Okay, now I will post this one in the link. So use the video here. So in the video, there is an example there of the act utilitarianism. The doctor seems to be helping majority of the sick, and then for a body organ transplant, okay, but then there is no donor. So can I just sacrifice one healthy person in such a way that could help other patients in need? Now, if I could open this one quickly here, let's see if I can
pleasure or happiness
use
not just for ourselves, but for as many sentient
beings as possible. To put it formally, we should act always less happiness for you. You might say you agree with that. I mean, we all like to think of ourselves as being generous and selfless. But even though I'm sure you are a totally nice person, you have to admit that things seem a participant. This approach is far more than the group of soldiers. The whole soldiers will shoot all 20. Williams argues that it's not just means getting our hands dirty. Was dead already. Typically, two of them. When Bentham and Mill first proposed their moral theory, it was in a form now known as act utilitarianism, sometimes called classical utilitarianism. And it says that in any given situation, you should choose the action that produces the greatest good for the greatest number, period. But sometimes the act that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number can seem just wrong. For instance, suppose a surgeon has 5 patients all waiting for transplants. One needs a heart, another a lung, 2 are waiting for kidneys, and the last needs a liver. The doctor is pretty sure that these patients will all die before their names come up on the transplant list, and he just so happens to have a neighbor who has no family, total recluse. I've been a very nice guy. The doctor knows that no one would miss the guy if he were to disappear, and by some miracle, the neighbor is a match for all 5 of the transplant patients. So it seems like, even though this would be a bad day for the neighbor, an act utilitarian should kill the neighbor and give his organs to the 5 patients. It's the greatest good for the greatest number. Yes, 1 innocent person dies, but 5 innocent people are saved. This might seem harsh, but remember that pain is pain regardless of who's experiencing it. So the death of the neighbor would be no worse than the death of any of those patients dying on the transplant list. In fact, it's 5 times less bad than all 5 of their deaths. So thought experiments like this one led some utilitarians to come up with another framework for their theory. This one is called rule utilitarianism. This version of the theory says that we ought to live by rules that, in general, are likely to lead to the greatest good for the greatest number. So yes, there are going to be situations where killing an innocent person will lead to the greatest good for the greatest number. But rule utilitarians want us to think long-term and on a larger scale. And overall, a whole society where innocent people are taken off the streets to be harvested for their organs is going to have a lot less utility than one where you don't have to live in constant fear of that happening to you. So rule utilitarianism allows us to refrain from acts that might maximize utility in the short run and instead follow rules that will maximize utility for the majority of the time. As an owner of human organs, this approach might make sense to you. But I still gotta say, if Batman were a utilitarian of either kind, it wouldn't look very good for the Joker. Today we learned about utilitarianism. We studied the principle.
All right, so that is how you would develop your ideas on which one provides long-term or short-term. Okay, so I will leave you to that based on the video there. Okay, so the next topic that I want you to discover would be natural law. Okay, so natural law ethics by Aquinas. So you copy your guide and then paste the guide here. So this is on natural law. Okay, and let me check this, clean this a little bit here so that I have a better view of my guide. Okay, so we have 2 paragraphs also to be developed on ethical theory. So what is this ethical theory? Perhaps your definition can help you this. And then what is the foundation? That's something new, where it is grounded. So go to your PowerPoint and look for natural law. So there is natural law ethics here. This is the one that I would like you to use in developing this theory. So the definition is that this is a moral theory that speaks about the moral theory of a human being based on the eternal law of God. Okay, so this is the first one. And then what is the ethical foundation? It is grounded on the ethical or eternal law of God, who is the author of all things. So maybe this whole paragraph in box number 40 makes sense as the answer. So box number 40 is the answer, that natural law, so I have to put natural law, is a moral theory that is grounded on the basic principle of the eternal law of God on his creation. When you say eternal law of God, which means this is the idea of God. Sorry. So the whole concept of eternal law is the mind of God, or the idea of God. So it's like a creator. When I create something, it's me who has the idea of something. So when God created the universe, he has this in his mind, how this universe would be according to his plan. And so the eternal law of God will be a kind of foundation also to this theory, and saying, so if God is the author and the designer of all things, then he is the owner, and the owner demand respect and obedience to the way his creatures look like. This is very important. And so if God is the owner of life, God is the owner of all things in the universe, then I have to act according to his idea or according to his mind. So if God is the owner of my life, can I just take my life away? No. Can I just take somebody's life away? No. So it would follow that preservation of life, care of life, protection of life is very important. So we should promote this, because this is not mine. This belongs to God. And so abortion is no longer an idea that we can do for the unborn, for instance. Euthanasia is not what we can do for those aging or dying in the hospitals, because that is beyond our control. So there is a law, for instance, like capital punishment, the death of the criminal, must not be imposed precisely based on natural law. Only God can take life. That is the whole principle. Okay, now what about number 6? 2 examples of moral issues that would violate natural law theory. Okay, so if you go to your notes, what are the implications and examples? So I would bring you to the applications of this theory. So the first application is promotion of life. And this is where I would like you to develop life preservation. All right. And you have to emphasize that. Box number, what box is it? number 46. So number 46 would say that we should promote and preserve life. So no to abortion, for instance, no to abortion, no to euthanasia, okay, no to suicide. Suicide is a violation of natural law. No to death penalty. Why? Because death penalty is against God's will. It's not in the mind of God. All right. And then another thing, another principles that we need to follow is life in the community. Okay. Preservation of truth, for instance. So I should live according to truth. Not only to take care of life, but we have to educate and care of children. Where is about truth? I want to emphasize that. The parent good. So I don't have that one here. Social life and promotion of truth. Okay. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. That's part of the commandments, by the way. So living in the community is important aspect of preserving the command of God. So like another one is on social life. What is demanded in social life? We should live with harmony with other people. So no to stealing. Okay, no to lying. Okay, no to thou shalt not beget thy neighbor's goods, that is stealing. Or thou shalt not destroy relationship. No to destroying relationship. For instance, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So against adultery, etc. So if you base yourself in the commandments, then you will have all this. Life in the community is very important. Preservation of life, preservation of truth, preservation of our understanding of property, and then relationship. Okay. Now the next question in the guide would be on Kant's ethics. So I will copy this one. Okay, let's do it quick and paste the whole thing. Okay, by the way, you have to take some portions of here. All right, now duty ethics or Kant's ethics is about the categorical imperative. So what is emphasized in duty ethics? Now, duty ethics is about an understanding of what is my obligation rather than my inclination in doing something and what is right or what is good. Okay, so I would like to use this box number 28. Okay, so box number 28 is a moral theory that advocates what is the right thing based on my understanding of what is my duty and my right. Okay, so what is it about? So I would like to paste this number 28, box 28. So duty ethics is a moral theory that says what is important in this theory is we advocate what is the right thing, and that right thing must be done according to my obligation, or even I am not inclined to do it. It is the right thing to do. As a demand of duty, even the consequence is not beneficial to you and to others. And this is called categorical imperative. So what is the basis of the right thing? So the basis of the right thing, which is the ethical foundation. So the ethical foundation is the understanding of the dignity of the human person and autonomy of reason. Okay, now try to find out the pages of this in your notes. The dignity of the human person that says that human being is the master of all our actions because of reason and the will. So this is the dignity of the human person. And therefore, I should not exploit someone. I should not exploit other people and treat them as objects. Rather, I have to treat human beings as ends and never as means. That's a very good point here. So treat everybody, persons, as ends and never as means. Okay? And then as dignity or autonomy, so you have to look at, oh, by the way, regarding dignity, we should not be involved in any violations of this, like prostitution, slavery, and any other form of exploitations. Now, what is autonomy of reason? Autonomy of reason places this kind of morality, which is part of the discovery of natural reason. So autonomy of reason is trying to say that this morality is dependent on what reason tells us, not what religion tells us, like in natural law, not in consequentialist ethics, in the selfishness of people, but this must be on the line of understanding what is the right thing. Okay, so autonomy, reason tells the laws of morality that is universal and binding to all people. Okay, so this is very important foundation of that of this theory. Okay, the next one. What is this universality principle? And then what's the video on categorical imperative to explain universality? Now, I will look at universality first, and then from there, I will also ask you to watch a video about this. So I will copy this. This is box number 34. All right, so box 34 says, okay. So box 34, in the concept of universality, that I'm never to act otherwise than to will that the maxim should become a universal law. What does this mean? That my actions, before I will decide, I have to examine if this passes universality. Example, if lying is acceptable in some instances, I will ask myself, is this a good action? Now, what's the criteria? Universality. If given the same situation with other people, will they act the same way as you do to lie? If someone says, no, I will not lie, even I have a good reason, because lying is lying, then that lying may not pass, or lying, any lie, cannot pass universality. Lie is always wrong. The same thing with killing, the same thing with murder, the same thing with disrespect to human person. So all actions must pass universality. There is a YouTube video on that. If I were you, I will also put or watch this video here. I will add that video also here. Okay, so I will watch the video on that as well. So this video is about categorical imperative, and you look at the categorical imperative and copy and paste that.
I'm a serious gamer.
Okay, so I will not use that video for now. I will paste this one first. Okay, and the title of this video is categorical imperative. Okay. All right, then I will paste this. Okay, there you go. So you have two videos that I put here that will help you develop this portion of the question. I'm never to act otherwise than to will that my maxim should become universal law. Okay, what does it mean by universal in my acting? And what does the video says? Okay, so try to develop that based on the video. So the video says this. And if you have a chance, then develop that for you.
Is binding on all of us. And he said that you don't need you ought to study. Kant in terms of hypothetical imperatives, but through what he called categorical imperatives. These are commands you must follow regardless of your desires. Categorical imperatives are our moral obligations, and Kant believed that they're derived from pure reason. He said it doesn't matter whether you want to be moral or not. The moral law is binding on all of us. And he said you don't need religion to determine what that law is, because what's right and wrong is totally knowable just by using your intellect. Okay, so how do you figure out what's moral? Kant said the categorical imperative can be understood in terms of various formulations, basically different ways of phrasing or looking at the same essential idea. And he came up with 4 formulations of the categorical imperative. Let me tell you about the 2 most popular ones. The first formulation of the categorical imperative is often known as the universalizability principle. And Kant phrased it this way: act only according to that maxim, which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law without contradiction. Okay, Kant. Pretty wordy guy, so let's unpack what he was saying. A maxim is just a rule or principle of action, and a universal law is something that must always be done in similar situations. So, as a Kantian, before I act, I would ask myself, what's the maxim of my action? In other words, what's the general rule that stands behind the particular action I'm considering? Let's say you forgot your wallet in your dorm this morning. You don't have time to get up between classes, and you're really hungry. You notice that the student working at the snack kiosk in the Union is engrossed in conversation, and you could easily snag a banana and be on your way. Sorry, chom-chom. I mean chom-chom. You could easily swipe that chom-chom and be on your way. Is it okay, morally, for you to do this? Well, the particular action you are considering, taking a chom-chom from a merchant without paying for it, is stealing. And if you approve of the maxim of stealing, which you're doing whether you admit it or not, then what you're actually doing is universalizing that action. You're saying that everyone should always steal. If you should be able to do it, then everyone should be able to do it. The thing is, this leads to a contradiction. And remember, Kant's wording specifically says that moral actions cannot bring about contradictions. The contradiction here is no one would say that everyone should steal all the time. Because if everyone should always steal, then you should steal the chom-chom, and then I should steal it back from you, and then you should steal it back from me, and it would never end, and no one would ever get to eat the chom-chom. There.
All right, so that is what universality principle looks like in terms of understanding can it be acceptable universally. So if I think of one action that I need to do, I have to ask myself, will this pass universality? That's how you would develop this this journal idea. So the last part of your journal is about virtue ethics. So I will copy the last guide and develop that number 9 and 10. So this time is about virtue ethics. So the first thing is the what it is. What is it all about? So I have to go to my notes. Perhaps your vocabulary can help you understand what virtue ethics is. So you have aritological ethics or virtue ethics by Aristotle. So the whole thing here can be very important. So I can copy that one and post that one here. And what box is it? This is box number 48. So develop box number 48 in the first part of the journal. So box 48. And it says this is a theory that promotes and develops a character of the human person. And the purpose of this is to develop an arete, which is a perfect functioning of our actions, called arete or virtue. Now, the goal of virtue ethics is eudaimonia, which is the well-being of a person or the community. Okay, now, how is this different from other theories? How is this different from other theories? Now, remember, other theories is about guides, norms on what to do. All right. Now, virtue ethics is different. Because it guides on how to be, to become a good person. So what is emphasized is being good rather than doing good. So that is the emphasis of virtue ethics. To do is not the main reason of doing something, but to become something. So if I act on virtue, the purpose is to be virtuous. So if I repeat good actions, then it will end up to become a good moral person. Okay, eudaimonia and arete is a very important word. Okay, so eudaimonia is well-being or happiness. This is the achievement. This is the achievement of being virtuous. Okay. Now, arete is excellent functioning of a thing. Now, in the case of human, this is the being good. The being good, which is excellent in function, in morality. Okay, and that is virtue. So, you got here some concepts that we learn, and if you want to develop that arete and virtue, you have here this one, the concept of arete. Okay, so I can copy this one and place that one. This is box number 54. So this is box number 54. Okay, and then the eudaimonia. Okay, this is arete. The eudaimonia can be from box something, let me see, where you can develop the concept of eudaimonia. And it's good to know this concept. Let me see, where are these other concepts here? And excellence and the feeling and the eudaimonia here. And eudaimonia, okay, then arete. You can copy this one, box 51. Okay, box 51. Okay. This way you can understand the purpose of arete, which will bring what? Eudaimonia. So this is, okay, when somebody achieve the perfect arete, that excellence and morality, then eudaimonia follows. Okay, so this one help each other achieve. Eudaimonia is the goal, the well-being. Arete is the way. But if a person achieves arete, then he will achieve eudaimonia. A person in eudaimonia continues to live also in arete. So I hope these journal ideas can help you develop your assignment for the week. Okay, now for your quiz, which is 20 points quiz. So I want you to study your PowerPoint, this PowerPoint, okay, on ethical theories. I will be posting the reviewer for this within this week, okay? After you submit your journal ideas, I will be posting, okay, before submitting your quiz on May 3, okay, that will be helping you prepare for quiz 5. And normally I used to have a reviewer on this in a multiple choice already, so it's already like a question in a multiple choice portion. I may be asking you to take a quiz which is ungraded because you are trying to test yourself how far you know about this. And then your critical thinking essay, I would like you to develop this. If you want to develop a child into virtue, what will you do? Will you educate them to virtue, or you let them practice virtue? Which one is your best way? We also believe that education is important in life. But however, paragraph 1 here, Plato emphasizes education or learning virtues. But is that enough? Aristotle in paragraph 2 argues that we need also to act on virtue to have more achievement of that being good rather just knowing. Like Plato emphasized knowing. Aristotle said, let's do it. Which one would you use? Or would you use both? Education and practice? So for your extra credit, you have to answer the 3 questions here and post this as 1 page extra credit. Do you adhere Plato's argument above on emphasizing what? Knowing the good or knowing virtues? Or do you adhere Aristotle by practicing good things so that you will achieve virtuous life? Or if you are Aristotle, how will you change the attitude of the child using virtue ethics? And the last paragraph is suggest how you would raise a virtuous child in your family. And this is a very good question. What if everyone is virtuous? Will that make any difference in society? Comment on this and submit in this link as well. Okay, I hope that this presentation of the announcement satisfies your assignments for the week. I will post this one in a moment, and then so that you can continue working on your assignment. So thank you so much, guys. Be safe always. I'm so sorry I was not able to meet you this morning, but I hope this satisfies your need as well to understand the assignments for the week. And bye-bye.